I appreciate everybody being here. Kind of give you an update on what's going on with the situation. Today at approximately 4 p.m., our investigators were following up on a burglary case out in the, I guess you'd say, the Holly Pond, Walter area. Investigators were speaking to a gentleman named Tei Ti Taimi. Once talking to him about this burglary, he barricaded himself in a residence, started making threats to law enforcement, at which point law enforcement's outside the residence. This gentleman and another gentleman, which we're working to identify, ran through the garage doors of the residence, striking investigators' vehicles. We did have a officer-involved shooting after firearms were brandished. A State Bureau of Investigation has been called in to investigate the officer-involved shooting. Since then, we've been working to locate the suspects. We do have a family member that has spoken to the suspects. We do know that at least one of the children is with him, and we are still currently working to locate them.
And going back to that, you said that y'all were there to discuss with this gentleman about burglary. Is that
That's
correct?
We had a burglary earlier today. He was a suspect in it. He had a previous arrest for burglary, and we were following up on that case.
Can you tell us how old the child is?
It's a juvenile, so with it being a juvenile, we're not going to get into the age of the child, but it's a juvenile.
Now, Sheriff, out in the Holly Pond, Walter area, it looked like there was two crime scenes, one across from the church and then on down 91 between 649 and 665. What does that mean, if anything?
That's right. After the suspect rammed the investigators' vehicles, there was a short pursuit. We lost sight of the suspect. Approximately 10 minutes later, we received a call where the suspect had wrecked off Highway 91 and fled the scene. Since then, we've had deputies in the area. We have perimeters still set up at this time in those areas trying to locate the suspects.
Was anyone hurt in the officer-involved shooting?
The officer was not hurt. We've been making contact with the suspect. Suspect is talked fine, so we do not believe that anyone was struck.
Did the officers dispatch their guns? Discharge their guns?
With it still being investigated by the State Bureau of Investigation, those details will have to be released later, with it being an officer-involved shooting and them handling that portion of it.
I'm just sorry, did the suspect fire at officers at any point?
There was firearms brandished, so with it still being an ongoing investigation, we're still collecting evidence at the crime scenes, the vehicles, those kind of things. We do still believe that the suspect is armed. Like I said, there's still that belief that the suspect is armed.
No one's still barricaded inside the home, right? Or are they?
No, not at that residence. No, the suspect rammed his vehicle through his own garage doors, striking investigators' vehicles in the yard.
Now, Sheriff, in the area, what should residents do? If we've got a person running around who's had a little bit of violence here, he's armed, what's your advice?
Make sure they're safe. I was out in the neighborhood a while ago talking to some homeowners. They're talking to each other, making sure we're out checking houses. We're letting everybody know that, hey, there's a possible suspect loose. Keep your doors locked. If you have dogs or anything like that, pay attention to them if they're barking. If you believe that something's out in your yard or you believe someone's in your area, please call us at the Sheriff's Office. And that phone number is 256-734-0342.
How far out should people be vigilant? I mean, how far out is your search area and how spread are we?
We are in the Walter community. I mean, we're confined within probably a 15-mile radius of the Walter community.
Now, Sheriff, in the search itself, have you brought in aircraft from the state, canine crews? I mean, how are you going about the business of searching?
Sure. We have deployed our canines in the area, and they have been tracking. We've contacted about the aircraft, but due to the weather and the conditions, at this time, they're not able to fly.
You said you made contact with the suspect, and
A family member.
Family member did?
Yes, we've had a family member has made contact with the suspect. We're trying to talk to the suspect to get him to turn himself in, check on the status of the children. The children are our main concern, especially with this weather. And we have been making contact through a family member.
via phone.
Via phone, that's correct.
And you said there's only one or multiple suspects?
There is multiple suspects. We've not fully identified the second suspect. We do know he's going to be a white male that's additionally with him.
And that second suspect, they left with Mr. Tei Ti Taimi?
Yes, that's correct.
And when
They were all in the vehicle together.
Okay, and then once they were in the Walker community, they fled on foot?
That's correct.
And then how many children are with him?
We know of one positively because the family member has spoken to that one, but potentially two, and they're his own children.
So the family member did speak to the child?
One of them, that's
Okay.
correct.
One of Mr. Taimi's family members?
That's correct.
Of his own children, I'm sorry.
That's correct.
The sheriff, your office put out a booking photograph of this gentleman earlier. Obviously, he's been through the detention center before. Can you talk about his criminal history? I mean, what are we looking
We
at
had
here?
arrested him approximately a month ago for additional burglaries in that area, and he was currently out on bond in those areas.
And you were just following up?
No, sir, this is a new burglary. This is a burglary that occurred today, and our investigators were in that area following up on it.
So the house across the street from the church that had the police tape around it and had the damaged garage door, you're saying that's the suspect's house?
That's the suspect's home.
And he got in the garage, into a vehicle, and without opening the door, ran through the door
That's correct.
at deputies who were in the yard?
Yes, investigators were speaking to him kind of via, through the door, at which point, and not to go into too many details, we know that he started barricading, talking about doing harm, and deputies started securing because of his actions, kind of a small perimeter, and then he ran through his own garage door and started striking deputies' vehicles, and then there was firearms.
You said he ran through his own garage door with his own vehicle, or?
That's correct.
Okay.
Now, and he's a suspect in a shooting, so you believe he fired a gun?
Well, he was a suspect in a burglary, and then when he ran through the door, and there was firearms brandished, then we had a shooting. That's correct.
And he's a
But do you
suspect.
believe he fired a gun?
At this time, I cannot rule it out because, anytime you brandish and point a firearm at somebody and you're ramming vehicles, there's a good chance that you were firing that weapon. So, like I said, that's being handled by the State Bureau of Investigation, but, but typically if you brandish a firearm and do that, that's your intent.
The burglary that happened earlier, was it at a residential area?
It was a
or
residence, that's
business?
correct. Yep.
And y'all were
In that same
there
area.
because y'all were there because he'd had a burglary conviction, or?
He was arrested for a burglary a month ago, and then we had some eyewitnesses that observed him at this burglary today, and another gentleman. So we were following up on that.
And where was that location of the burglary today?
It's in the same area, that Holly Pond Walter area.
How many officers have you had involved in this? Do you have a rough number?
We have about 25 of our deputies. We have state police. We have the Cullman City Police Department, and those guys in those areas. And I just want to commend their effort with our dispatchers and dispatch, to the deputies, to the city police officers, to the state troopers that are out there, and the State Bureau of Investigation that are still out there right now.
You had to call an off duty, I remember.
That's correct, yeah, that's correct. I appreciate it. Thank y'all.
Thank you.